needs another second. And we are live.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny,
And I'm Tom.
and
We're
we
gonna
are
be-
here.
Go
Go ahead. We're here to bring you the final set of the day. Right now, we're watching the Rosenthal versus Waldowski match, which is by far the closest match. The match in the other round of this, I believe the Lewis team is up something like 40-ish.
I was
So
gonna say 30-ish, but yeah, it's in that general range.
I don't think I've seen Adam and Kitty playing together before. So it looks like established partnerships versus an unestablished partnership, at least one. I don't know how long Amber and Chris have been playing together either. But I think
Yeah,
I think
I would say
Amber
this.
filled in. She came to the rescue in Italy when Andrew's teammates got COVID. And Amber was there, so she came in and played. Not sure who it was that got sick, but I think that solidified her place on the Rosenthal team.
Mixed pairs being fairly and I wouldn't say unsupported, but it's not an event that a lot of people play in regular partnerships frequently. You're an exception to this rule, but I would say that it's not so uncommon that this event might have partnerships that are not used to playing with each other. I think if anything, it's more notable that we actually have two very established partnerships in the match.
Sure.
Than that we have two that are not. So both tables open and no trump, which ended the auction.
Although Adam did pause for some time. Perhaps he was thinking about doing something.
Hardly unusual for Adam. He is a very thoughtful, deliberate player.
Okay.
Hard to imagine what he might be considering with a 4-4-3-2 8 count, but he is a passed hand, so I guess he has a little bit of liberties.
Passed hand, 2 aces. It could be worth coming in.
It could, but partner had the opportunity to bid as well and didn't. So
Right.
You-
And having aces in
right.
your short suit is not the best.
right, partner doesn't rate to have a ton of distribution either. So it's very much a question of whether you have a fit. Now they happen to here. They happen to have a 4-4 spade fit. So probably would have survived bidding, but they are outgunned. The no-trump opener is a maximal hand, so
But West has all 4 queens. That is always exciting.
there are times when that might be worth something. I'm not sure this is one of them. So I know in the room on the right, I don't know. I'm going to assume left is open and right is closed. So in the closed room, the first round of clubs got ducked to the queen jack doubleton notably. So they're only taking 3 club tricks. That doesn't rate to matter a ton, but conceivably if they get the heart wrong here, it could actually cost them. And they got the heart.
And they're going to get the remainder of the trick.
Yeah. They're going to be down one because they got the hard draw. So possible there might be a small swing on this board.
Feels like we're going to have a fast table and a slow table.
I would agree with that just based on who's playing.
Right, that was what I was thinking.
Yes. If they wanted the tables to keep pace, this was not the right lineup.
Right. I don't know about Kitty, but I know the other three players are definitely deliberate.
Yeah, I think Debbie might be the fastest player at that table.
Ah. So I see in the room on the right, South has opened a multi-two diamonds, showing a weak two in either major.
Pretty hefty one, actually. I mean, this is certainly a hand that a lot of people would open on the one level.
Sure.
Yeah, the playing strength of this hand is quite good. Now, in fairness, they are vulnerable versus not. So, if there was ever a time to have a sound preempt, this is probably it. But the Polish pair north-south, they're certainly going to be playing Polish two bids, where two diamonds is a weak two in either major, and two hearts and two spades are both 5-5 two-suited hands weak. Two hearts being hearts in any other suit, and two spades being spades in a minor.
And now South has shown how strong she is by redoubling when East came in with a double.
I'm not particularly a fan of that sequence. If this isn't your hand, there certainly is a very large danger here that, they're just coming to get you. And where are you going to go? Like, vulnerable versus not. I mean, partner's not shown anything. And this is part of why I don't like these sort of half and half decisions, where I personally would always open one spade on the south hand, even vulnerable versus not. But now trying to play catch up definitely comes with some risk. I think they're going to survive that decision here. Nobody's actually trapping in spades today, and partner actually has some values for you. And in fact, two spades is, called. So behind all that, she's not going to be punished for this sequence today. But I'm not a fan.
Well, Michael has also chosen to open this hand a weak two in spades. I guess
I mean,
we are more aggressive than some other people.
Sure. And the vulnerability is definitely going to be a part of this too. Red versus white. The presence of the jack of spades to me is extremely significant in this decision here. If it was a random stray jack, I would be perfectly, behind the weak two in spades. But I think it strengthens the trick count of the hand up enough that to me it feels more like a one bid than a two bid. Worth noting that the open room won a Trump made two. So that was 5 imps to Rosenthal, now up by 12.
I'm a little surprised two diamonds wasn't alerted. I'm sure it was pre-alerted, but since it looks like these calls are being alerted in real time, it just seems strange. Everyone knows what's going on. This may be
I'm sure
a
that's true.
tablet thing.
It may be a tablet thing. It may be there was an audible alert. I don't know. Hard to get a full sense of that from afar.
They have found their 4-4 heart fit, and it looks like the open room is also on their way to finding that.
Possibly. I missed what Tuno was. Was it scrambling or was it
Tuno was scrambling.
better minor Lebensraum? So
Okay,
not exactly
on the right,
scrambling.
Tuno was scrambling.
Right. So here, I mean, they bid 3 hearts. So you know, I don't know that it was 100% action there, but given that the 3-diamond bid didn't show extras and could easily just be a 4-card suit, that I think it makes a lot of sense that West would in fact bid 3 hearts over that.
Right.
You rate to have safety when partner is making a takeout double of one major and retreating to the other major.
So it looks like 3 hearts is likely going to be down 1, since they have cashed their spades to begin with, and they have 3 heart losers.
Yeah, not the most exciting hand, especially with 3 diamonds 3-3.
That's right. So we
Just
have
not-
to entertain, since this is not an exciting hand.
Well, you know, I could have put the cat on camera a little bit ago, but she left. But she may be back at any moment. It is worth noting, just tying in my commentary from before, that Michael, even though he did open 2 spades, did not redouble
Correct.
when the comparable auction came back to him.
I suspect maybe in Michael's youth, he might have put out a redouble. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think that the redouble in the closed room could be attributed to youthful exuberance. There is one young player at that table, but that would be Amber.
True. Maybe I should say experience. Michael has more experience than May does. I don't know how long May has been playing, but
But
Michael
Michael's
has
more
almost certainly been playing longer.
Michael probably has more experience at high level bridge than, you know, 99.9% of the bridge players on the planet.
Right.
So
Right.
this is not a slight against May so much as a tribute to Michael.
I know it's frequently said couples can't play well together, but here we have 2 couples playing together. Both, at least I believe Pepsi and May are a couple, and
I
Debbie,
have no idea.
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
And they
Obviously-
won the mixed pairs not this past year, but the year before. And Debbie and Michael, of course, they are longtime partners, married.
They've
They are-
been married for many, many years at this point.
Right. But I don't know how much they've played together.
I mean, I've seen it before. It's hardly something that's new. So it's, you know, they're not, they're both full-time professional players, so they don't always get opportunities to play with each other like many professionals. But I do think that there have been plenty of opportunities where they do play together as well.
Sure.
So this like says, yep. So officially a push. And let's take a look at the next board. So
In the closed room, this is starting with a pretty normal auction. 1
Spade.
spade, a 4
spade and
note
no 2
trump,
spade. Yeah.
2 spades.
The question is, what action is South going to take on the hand? And I think that they have some interesting options. At Imps, it feels like their hand is too heavy to pass, but that's also going to be dependent on their opening style. So of course they passed, just as I said that.
Even playing an aggressive opening style, I probably would not pass. With all those good intermediates, I would feel unrequited if I passed 2 spades. I would probably bid 2 no trump.
There is certainly a big benefit to looking for game at Imps. So I probably would also have bid 2 no, unless certainly in a style that opens 2 spades on the previous hand or multi, as the case may be, and not 1 spade. So, you know, we're sounder than that, then it feels like I owe partner another bid.
So
With this-
in the other room, they have bid 2 no trump.
Yep.
So they have gotten to game And let's see, how will that do?
I don't know that I would have necessarily accepted with the North hand, but they too also have some good intermediates. The strength of the spade spots is certainly significant here.
I think the
Um,
biggest problem is that it's almost certain the partner has a singleton or void, otherwise they'd be raising spades. So even with good intermediates, it's still not great. And your hand is fairly weak outside.
That's not necessarily true. Some people play something like a spade, a no trump, two spades. Three spades still implies a 3-card limit raise and would tend to rebid 2-no with a doubleton. There
Okay.
are people who play a style like that. Heart lead into the wheelhouse is certainly helpful.
Right.
With
I was
diamonds,
thinking at the other table, they'd let a club, but of course that's because North is declaring. And with South
they're also
declaring,
declaring two spades, not 3 no trumps. So
Right,
quite a
true.
different, quite different. Ace king of clubs on lead against suit contracts is pretty standout.
Well, I still think East would have an obvious club lead if they were on lead against 2 no trump,
Mhm.
which would make this a much harder contract.
I still only see 8 tricks on the surface, assuming that they win this heart and clear diamonds. Now, if East then tries to play on clubs, that might give them their 9th trick. If they play a heart back, maybe South has the timing to play on clubs themselves. I don't know. It gets interesting.
It feels more like South is going to win in hand and take an immediate spade finesse and set up 4 spade winners for their side. So if they do that, that gets them up to 9.
The problem with that line is that you rate to be losing 2 spade tricks, and if they revert to clubs, you don't have a second stopper. So all that's given you is, you've lost tempo on the hand. So I'm not sure that that's actually the strongest line here. If it loses and they continue hearts, yes, you're home free. But the defense doesn't have to do that. And I think that you actually would fail even on this layout if East shifts to a low club. Well, Michael's one of the best declarers in the world, so let's see what he says.
I certainly don't lay claim to being any kind of good declare. So
So it looks like Michael's taking the line of play I was advocating.
right, the biggest problem is that you can only get up to 8 tricks.
True on the surface, but you might be able to build a club trick or maneuver an end play for your 9th trick. They may just run out of tempo here. It's like, even if they play this heart back like they're about to do, first we can cash a couple diamonds, and that certainly puts some pressure on West if they want to keep both their hearts and keep some semblance of spade stoppers. And there's similar kind of pressure on East. If they, I don't think that they can come down to ace king tight of clubs, so they may just have a club in the end that they're kind of forced to declare the queen of clubs for a 9th trick. So I think that the matrix is tight enough that the defense just really can't hold the position.
Looks like he discarded a heart, but didn't mean to. That feels like a misclick. Adam called the director.
I don't know what the policy is on that for this event.
I know that earlier this week, an undo was given in the play where there was a misclick.
Okay.
So I know that they do it, but I don't know how frequent that is.
Meanwhile, the other room, which played 2 spades, that in the end made 3 for 140. So fair number of imps on the line here, depending on whether Trino makes or goes down.
And in the closed room, they're getting the most out of their multi-two diamonds. Having opened once again, and this time on a pretty ratty suit.
They are not vulnerable this time.
They
And
are.
I think that the standards may be something like it shows 6. And I don't think that the suit quality is particularly much
And
of a
it was in
consideration.
third chair. It's also in third chair. So
Sure.
there may not even be a necessity to have 6 when you're in third.
Possibly. I don't know if they change their 2 major openings to accommodate that, or if they change their multi-style to accommodate that, or if they change nothing. But since they effectively have a 5-card week 2 type preempt already to go along with a
That
6-card.
shows a second suit, right?
Right. So in first or second for sure, it shows 5-5 even, but they may loosen that up in third to be just a 5-card preempt or a 5-4. You know, I don't know enough about their style to say for sure.
Sure.
Bidding and making 4 spades in the 5-2 seems like rates to be a good result. I didn't get a chance to see the hand in enough detail to know if they had other alternative games that would have made it look like 5 of mine are rated to have some play, was my guess.
Looks like the undo was not given, so they can't put another heart through. And 3-0 is going to be successful.
I think it was going to be anyway. But hard to say for sure.
For those that don't know, I'm mostly a tournament director, so I'm well versed in the laws and how all this works. And I also have been talking with some of the people who are directing this event this week, so that's why I have a little bit of knowledge about what's been going on in the matches.
Having said that, there's no universal rule about what covers online play. So in fact, if you look at different tournament organizers across the globe, they're going to have different policies about when undos are granted and when they're not.
Right.
ACBL has their own policies, but this is a USBF event, a United States Bridge Federation event. So they have conceivably a different set of policies than the ACBL does. And it sounds like that's the case, because I believe in most ACBL tournaments that are held on BPO, the rule is that no undos in the play are allowed, period.
That's true.
So it sounds like they are granted here under certain conditions. We just, don't have enough insight to know what those might be.
So in the open room, Michael did not open a week 2 in hearts. That would certainly not be my style either.
Third seat white, I get it. Might be too good for 2 hearts.
Mm. I suspect East-West is on their way to a game. Certainly rates to be.
Yeah.
But if they get to 3-0, that's going to be a disaster.
Only if North finds a high heart lead. They certainly might choose a 4th best lead.
So East has transferred to spades, showing his 5th spade.
Presumably West is just going to bid 3-0 trump over this. And now the spotlight will be on East. Their partner did open a diamond, so it may well be that they'll revert to 4 diamonds here.
Would you?
I think it's an interesting question.
And
this is actually,
partner can still have 4 hearts. It's not like they have said anything about not having much in the way of hearts.
true. And this is one of the weaknesses. Well, there's your high heart lead.
It is,
This is
yes.
one of the weaknesses of playing both transfers and two-way type styles over 2-note trump rebits is that you don't really have the room to do everything you might want to do. Like, for example, if we just played simple new minor forcing here, I'm not saying that that's the better convention, but I think it would work out better here. You can, instead of choosing that action, you could actually bid 3 diamonds, natural and forcing. Or had you bid 3 clubs, here you would hear partner bid 3 diamonds.
Right.
And now you might get a better idea about where you belong. Even over two-way, that would probably at least rule out the 4-card heart suit by partner. So if you played like a wolf side-off type of two-way where 3 diamonds is your forcing check back, you know, when partner doesn't bid 3 hearts over that, they've denied 4 hearts, and that might put you in a better position to work out to not declare 3-note trump. But
well, Rosenthal has certainly picked up.
that claim is not
quite-
correct. They just claimed 8 tricks when they're actually only taking 7. It looks like the plays continue. That got canceled.
Right.
And that's certainly not right either. 0 tricks for declare, also not probable. They'll get there eventually. But yeah, 4 spades, I don't know that that was the greatest game. Certainly looking at both the east-west hands, you'd far prefer to be in 5 diamonds, as it's essentially just call. And but 4 spades with the 3-3 spade break today was able to fetch. So they found a working game today, even if it wasn't necessarily the best game. But kudos to Debbie to finding the high heart lead. And just like that, the lead has jumped out to almost 30 imps.
Ace King fourth is kind of a difficult holding to lead from, knowing what to do when you're leading against 3-0 and a somewhat blind auction. The only thing you know is that East has 5 spades and West doesn't have 3 spades.
Right.
So there are arguments made for both a high heart and a low heart. But from what I've heard, I think typically with only 4, you tend to lead at one of the high ones, whereas with 5, you'll lead low to preserve partners' potential only 2-card holding.
There's that. There's also, for some forms of scoring, such as match points, you know, sometimes you just need to take your tricks before they go away. Obviously, that's not a consideration here. But what is a consideration is getting the defense right. So you have to imagine a hand where you can set 3-note trump when you're holding these cards and partner couldn't take any action in 3rd seat. So what does that hand look like? It probably means that your really only shot is that partner has enough in hearts that you can run off the first 5, or in this case, 6 heart tricks. So even if partner has 5 small, you know, it just might be time to play the ace king of hearts and hope to drop a 2-2 break and be on with it. So I think the lead is very well reasoned, but I think it's one that a lot of people would get wrong.
And I think the real lesson of the story is don't open 2 hearts on 6 bad hearts, because the opponents will then miss 3-note trump.
Mm.
And the other table is just boards ahead. As we noted.
As we anticipated, yes.
Yes. So it feels like we should probably just stick with the open room, the slower room.
Yeah.
Since I'm not sure what's going on in the closed room.
In the closed room on that board, there was a Texas auction to a very straightforward contract that made a lot of tricks. It doesn't rate to be a very large swing board, but we'll get to it soon enough.
But the other room on the board that we're watching in the open room landed in 2 spades by East. I guess they opened a week 2 and South chose not to come in.
I think they were headhunting. I think they were hoping for a balancing double so they could float it.
I think that's pretty greedy with both holding so many high card points. They have an 18 count and being vulnerable. So even if partner does double, you don't know there you're going to get it more than your game.
As against that, I agree with you. I would not pass either. But as against that, the singleton heart is certainly a fairly large flaw with a two-note trumpet. The last thing you want to hear is partner transferring and passing you in hearts.
True. I think if partner bid 3 diamonds, this is one of those hands where I might just bid 3 no. Say no.
So on that note, it's worth noting that the auction went 2 spades, 2 no pass, 3 spades, cubit for Stayman. So they probably play a system I like, where 3 diamonds would not only be a transfer, but it would actually show invitational or better values. 3 no trump would actually not even be an unexpected action. It would just simply be, I'm accepting your invite. So it would actually be clear on the south hand. The way this works is that 3 clubs ends up being a puppet to 3 diamonds to show a hand that's less an invitation. So the flawed auction here would be something like 3 clubs, 3 diamonds, 3 hearts. So at the very least, you might get a chance to run away from hearts if you chose to do so.
Right.
This is a convention I know as Soloway, named after the late great Paul Soloway.
So how are we gonna do here in 3 no? Looks like it's
I mean, it looks like they have plenty of winners.
it does.
I think they're going to take all but one of the tricks here. So the careful manipulation of the club suit gives the club re-entry back to the board to cash the king of hearts. And then the diamond re-entry back to the south end. So looks like it's going to make 4 pretty easily here.
It's gonna be
This is-
another big pickup for the Rosenthal team.
Yeah.
Now, after this set, they're only halfway done. There'll be another 60 boards tomorrow. Well, why don't we check out what's going on in the other match?
I was actually just thinking the same. So this is worth possibly coming back to this one later, but you know, with such a strong jump, let's see what's going on in the other match. Hardly any closer.
That's true. I do know
Um,
that they're playing the same boards, which is helpful.
Yes. So the closed room is the one that was the Texas auction at the other table that we didn't look at too closely. The closed room looks like the one that's they're behind here.
Well, I know that Shan can be quite slow. I think the other, well, I'm not sure about Jenny.
I think
Marcus,
Jenny is reasonably paced. I wouldn't. She doesn't strike me as particularly fast or slow. She tends to be down the middle.
Mark is
Mark is
fast,
very fast, and Disa is also pretty fast. So
right? Well, at the other table, well, I think those are all reasonably speedy players.
again, it all feels like very middle-ish speed to me on
Okay.
average. You know, not. None of them are among the fastest I know, but none of them are among the slowest either. So it's not surprising that that table's ahead a little bit.
At the pace everyone's
Janice,
keeping, I don't foresee any time penalties, which is always
Yes.
a good thing.
I was going to say Janice is actually quite a fast player, but the other ones I would say for on average tend to be more down the middle. So the hand that's in the closed room right now is the Texas auction, the favorable heart layouts and the spade finesse being on side. It's not a very interesting contract. He's just going to kind of fall into a lot of tricks.
Is he really thinking about moving with a 10 count?
I mean, it's possible that it's hard to say what's going on. For all we know, he had stepped away from the table or was busy answering questions to his screen mates. So he wasn't clicking because he was busy doing other things.
Sure, that's possible. That auction doesn't tend to generate a lot of questions, but you never know.
It's true, it does not, but it also doesn't tend to generate a lot of hesitations either.
That too.
You're either bidding or you're not. You don't tend to really, go into a tank. So. But it feels like the play rates to be over fairly quickly, given the full layout of the hand.
Right.
The King of Hearts popping is going to accelerate the play. If this were actually a physical table, there might easily be someone just saying like, King of Spades or something like that, just to check. But you actually wouldn't do that anyway on this particular hand. You'd actually test clubs first. And if clubs were not 3-3, then you would take a spade finesse. But here you might end up not even taking the spade finesse because the clubs just come home.
Yep.
I guess in theory, had they won the first time, they might have made 7.
I was just thinking that.
It's fairly normal play to duck with the ace third opposite doubleton. Set up your communications a little bit easier.
So while
You
we're
wanted
waiting
to-
on action, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, this hand is so friendly. If you wanted to take the club finesse to play on clubs, that works too.
Yes, basically anything you want to do on this hand is going to work.
Leave the ace of hearts out of your hand. Take all the tricks. Okay.
It's true. So I was going to say, next week I'll be in Salt Lake City for a regional. So for all those who are looking for something fun to do next week, come visit me.
What does that say about me when I'm not coming?
You see enough of me.
There is. Well, she was planning on playing the 8 of hearts, but the king pops. So once again, we're going to see an accelerated line of play here.
It's actually quite impressive how young these two tables are. We have many younger players that are playing. A couple of old veterans, but not many.
So when we say young in this context, I think many of these players are in their 30s at this point. So,
30s or 40s, but
yeah, so not quite the juniors, but not that far removed from it. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people I know of who participated in juniors in one capacity or another.
right. And of course, as we were talking about in the Rosenthal match, Amber Lynn, who recently got to represent for the Venice Cup, she is in her early 20s, or maybe I
Yeah,
guess
she
mid
actually still
20s.
qualifies. Yeah, I think
Right.
she still qualifies for juniors and will be playing in the World Championships come this summer in
True.
the Netherlands.
I think she's on US1 for the under 26 group. So for all those hankering to see younger people playing, we have a pretty good group there coming up. Very talented. I was sad that Adam Kaplan's team didn't do better. That was a team full of very young people. Adam was playing with Dana Berkowitz, and they were teamed up with Finn and Emma Kolesnik, brother and
Yeah,
sister.
Dana, I believe, being the eldest on that team, and
Right.
she's not.
She is not very old. But Finn is, I think, 18. And Emma's very early 20s. And Adam is in his later 20s. So it's good to see that there is still some interest in bridge, even among the youth. Hopefully one of these years we'll get to go play in the trials, or maybe I'll get to go direct them. I just want to be a part of them in one capacity or another.
You work too many tournaments. You're never available to play in these things.
So let's see, what's going on in our closed room? The other
Fairly
table dropped to a routine
Or-
4 spades.
Yep. Another friendly hand. So if you get high, you might survive.
Oh, looks like you can make 7. Oh, maybe not. I guess you end up a trick short. But 6 certainly looks reasonable.
I think you can make 7 because the queen of clubs drops. So if you draw trumps, you can ruff 2 diamonds and pitch 1 diamond. And then the queen of clubs drop. So I think you actually can make 7.
Right. I was
But
thinking,
we're talking about,
Yeah.
you were pitching a club.
I was
the
pitching
heart.
a club, right?
Yeah, but if you pitch the diamonds, then I think you're okay.
Can we see what it says for 4 diamonds? Okay. I wanted to know if they were playing something like this was serious versus non-serious.
Many partnerships do. I would expect that they probably have something akin to that here, even if it doesn't explicitly say that.
Yeah.
You know, the East hand is quite good in the context of having just bid a measly 1 spade. I mean,
For sure.
three key cards and a singleton is way above expectation. Partners jumping. The West hand is on the lower end in terms of high cards for the jump, but I fully agree with that decision. You know, a singleton in the suit that was overcalled in all controls and good spots. I mean, I think that this hand is clearly worth the 3 spade bid. So even though just in terms of high cards, we're only looking at 14 opposite 12 here, I think that it would be quite reasonable to re-slam on the East-West cards.
I agree.
West has taken
if
the
4
ball.
diamonds, right? If 4 diamonds was actually a serious cubid, I think it's pretty easy to get to slam now. Looking at
Well,
control rich 14 count with the singleton in their suit and good spots. I agree that even though West is so light, he should just take over and they'll
I
get to their
don't even think
slam.
it's that light, especially when a cube is available. Just keep in mind, if you have a good sound balanced hand, you could always start with 2 diamonds and raise spades later. So I think there's even a little bit more flexibility with the jump here that it probably should be based on shape and a little bit lighter high cards more often. So it's not even that clear to me that it's particularly light. And if partners cube it does imply more positive interest in slam as opposed to courtesy, then I like the Fordo Trump bit here a lot. They're just taking over because, well, they kind of have everything. They have good trumps, they have good controls, they have the right singleton, they have good spots. I mean, there's just nothing bad about their hand.
I know a good rule of thumb is if partner has made a strong bid and you're looking at 3 key cards, you should absolutely be cubiting.
For sure.
Not only
Uh,
3 key cards, you also have a 5th spade the partner doesn't know about.
Yeah,
So, I
I
mean,
mean,
you just
I-
have an amazing hand.
I would have put the cutoff a bit lower. I think that 2 with the queen is a mandatory cue situation. And I
Sure.
think 2 without the queen is an interesting one. I think that that's where the decision points are. And if you play like a non-serious or something, that might be akin to that. But yeah, I think 3 key cards is and an extra trump is all just kind of automatic. So well done, East West. They still have to make it, but on the actual layout, it feels like that's not going to prove to be a hardship.
Right. It's a very friendly hand. It's hard to go down.
If you'd had a trump loser, you might have some concerns about what the best approach to make it is, but
Jenny was one of the youngest people ever to win the blue ribbons. She won it a number of years ago playing with her husband Gavin. This was before they were married, I think. She is an excellent player and very nice to boot.
as is Gavin for that matter. So, because East doesn't know about the 2-2 trump break, there actually is quite a lot to think about and how to play this hand to best advantage. But I suspect, given the friendly layout, you're eventually going to fall into something that works quite well. Even if you do end up holding yourself to 6. One approach you might plan on taking is to try and rough 3 diamonds on the board before playing trumps. Planning on trying to discard a club on the heart, not knowing that the queen of clubs is coming down, and being willing to concede a spade.
Which I
That
think
may
is that's a reasonable line.
It very much is. It is a line where it may actually end up generating a trump loser, but that would still be your only loser on the hand. So you might, for example, cash the ace of spades first, in which case South can rough in with the jack in the last round. Or if you don't do that, the 10-9-8 being the spots on the dummy, and the queen 7 being in the north hand, the jack uppercutting the ace would probably also be enough to allow north to cover the spots and have the 7 be the boss trump on the 3rd rough diamonds. So it would, well, still remains to be seen, but it would be quite interesting to see if, if the one and only loser on the hand would be the
Looks like she's going to test things out and see how cards are breaking first.
definitely feels like that's potentially a little bit dangerous, but it's going to be very rewarded here.
Especially
Now,
with the 1 diamond overcall. I think seeing the 10 drop might give me pause.
yeah, now it's trivial to play on trumps here because you have a discard for a diamond.
So she'll rough her 3rd diamond. play some trump ending in dummy, discard her diamond on the king of hearts. Well, she'll claim.
Possibly might play the heart first, but regardless, you know, with 2-2 spades, it's going to prove uninteresting quickly here. There's still the possibility that she's worried about 4-0 trumps. But she's apparently not trying any safety plays in the trump suit. Okay. That's the end of that. So
Oh,
she
that's
banished.
a nice pickup for the Millens team. Closing the gap somewhat. They still have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot more bridge to play.
There is a lot more bridge to play. And 13 is a good chunk.
When I'm playing in the mixed pairs with my partner, Greg Humphreys. Whenever we have any type of bad board, it doesn't matter how much bridge is left. He will inevitably say, there's still lots more bridge to play.
Has he ever said that on the last board?
I don't think so, but usually I'm distracted.
Got it.
I'm pretty quick to try and find out how we're doing.
So East was saying that she was having a technical problem in the closed room before, so I'm wondering if that's in part what the pause here is. They're trying to resolve something.
Was there a TD call?
No, there was no TD call, but one of the alerts from last time, she said, sorry, technical problem, when she was responding
Oh,
to key
I
card.
see. I see.
So since we're on this topic of, you know, opening bids versus preempts, what do you think of North's paths in this hand? Red and white first chair.
So my standard system that I play is precision, which is a very aggressive system, and clearly in precision, it's
This
an
is a
easy,
no-brainer.
it's an
This is a
easy
no-brainer.
2-club opener showing
Sure.
6 or more clubs and 10 to 15 points. But my style tends to lean towards opening on distributional hands, even playing in a standard context. I know Mextroth has said this is a bidders game, and I agree with that. When I have such good clubs, I certainly want to be in this auction, so I would open one club, even red against white.
I'm perhaps even more aggressive than you are. I also, in addition to it being a bidders game, would comment that I have found that the faster you get into the auction, the safer it tends to be. So waiting to bid clubs on your second turn, while that certainly doesn't seem terrible, I think the partner may never quite picture this strong a hand for one. And on top of that, you know, the auction doesn't always go so nicely according to plan. Like sometimes
Right,
the
say
auction is
the
much
auction
higher.
started a heart past 3 hearts, which could be happening if they had a limit raise. Let's say they
Heart
had a
of spade,
4-card
4
limit
hearts.
raise.
Heart
Well,
of spade, 4 hearts. Heart by spade by partner, 4 hearts.
sure, that's
How
another
do you
possible.
feel? Right? I mean, partners made an overcall that you don't have support for, and you have this amazing hand, maybe. Right? You know, I mean, you're just in a terrible position. So I definitely, regardless of style, would take some action with the North hand. I have partnerships where that action would be opening 3 clubs. I have partnerships where that action would be opening 1 club. But
Mark is mainly, at least as far as I know, he's mainly a match point player. And I don't know if that fact comes into play when he's choosing what action to take.
I mean, sure, preempting vulnerable is obviously more dangerous at match points than it might be at IMS, since, you know, minus 200 could just be a 0. And IMS, if you go minus 200 on a board where they were making a part score, you just don't care.
Right.
So, you know, I also would tend to be a 1 club bidder personally with 6-4 and again, such good hands. You know, this, we were commenting before on a different king, queen, jack, six than an ace. And to me, this one's even more clear since, you know, this one in addition to king, queen, jack, six and an ace is also 6-4. The other thing is that since your suit is the lowest suit, that makes it the hardest to get involved in the auction, just inherently, because you always have to go a level higher to bid clubs no matter what. So I think that there's a very, very strong case to opening one club on this hand, even with only 10 highs. I mean, it's 10 highs, but you have a singleton and a doubleton. So, you know, even just counting old fashioned, you know, Gorin type points, that's an additional 1 point for the doubleton and 2 points for the singleton gets you to 13.
I was always told that when your singleton is an honor, you're not supposed to double count.
I agree when that's a hanging honor, but I think singleton ace is different
Okay.
because that still is worth the trick for the ace. A lot of more modern ways of where people are taught, they emphasize kind of distribution based on long suits as opposed to short suits, which would get it up to 12 here because you have one suit that's 6 cards in length.
So I
find that
suspect many
I was going to say I
people,
find that
go ahead.
I was just going to say I find that you know is flawed when you have like these 6-4 hands because you don't have a second long suit, but you know that additional distribution is significant.
So many people
Okay,
with
you
the
were saying.
north hand here would double that 3 club bid. But I think among experts, a lot of people, the treatment here is that double says, don't lead by suit. I've already bid the suit. I want that as a lead. And if I double, it says, please don't lead it. I was just kidding. So if it surprised anybody that he passed the 3 club cubit, that would be the reason why.
And the rationale behind playing it that way is pretty simple. When you double a cubit, you're giving the other side extra room. You know, a hand that was forced to bid now all of a sudden can pass and they can, you know, or redouble. They have additional actions that they can take now that they couldn't before. So you'd prefer to have that be the more rare action. And by and large, when you bid a suit, you want it as the lead. So sending the message that I don't want the lead is the more rare action. And so it makes sense to play it in that way. 4 hearts as a final contract seems pretty straightforward. They have some aces to lose. But hearts are 4-1, but it doesn't feel like that's going to matter too much with spades breaking. The short suit being the short trump hand, you know, there may be some layouts where it would be a problem, but this doesn't feel like one of them because the defense can't hold up on the ace of trumps.
Oh, the open room has really zoomed ahead. Hasn't felt
Yeah.
especially slow in the closed room, but the open room has certainly taken off.
Yes, they have. In the fullness of time, I don't expect a swing on the board here in the closed room.
No.
The other table was in 4 hearts making 5. That looks to be
Well,
the same.
North have taken their 2 tricks, and it's hard to see where they're going to get another one.
Correct. I was more going to comment that there were other potential contracts that might have been reached, but both tables in fact chose hearts.
One of the nice things about teams is not having to worry about, am I supposed to pass 3? No. Because it's match points. It's something
Right.
I think people place a little too much emphasis on when they're playing match points.
I mean, there definitely is a time and a place, but having a singleton into the suit bid and 3-card support for partners open major, that doesn't feel like the right time.
Right.
especially the hand which has no aces. So there may be some work in some of the suits.
Well, it looks like in the open room, Roy South took a very good four spades sacrifice. Four hearts looks pretty cold. But Tom won't get to see because he's got a cat in his face. It's our next star in the making. Everyone say hi to Spice.
I think I have
She's
to
our
be
s-
speaking to be on camera, so I'll say a little bit here, so you know she can be on camera as opposed to me.
She's our Spice girl.
Yeah, she is
Brent,
doing her best to make sure I cannot see any.
Brent, are there any questions or comments in Twitch that we might want to address?
Nope, it's been quiet so far.
Okay. Well, if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask.
Once again, my name is Tom Carmichael. This is my wife Jenny.
Hi.
For any of you that are joining us late.
Not only are the teams relatively young, but Brent, who is our VUGRAPH operator, told me he is on the US2 under 26 team that will be competing later this summer in the Netherlands. And Dan Corbell is their non-playing captain. And I would guess there are probably others here playing that maybe captains or coaches.
Almost certainly. Michael Rosenberg in the match we were watching earlier, almost certainly is NPC of one of the teams.
Right. And Roger Lee, who was on the open team with Dan Corbell, he is the coach of the UN 21 team. So not only are they great players, but they're also giving back to the game.
Both Jenny and I have done our time as NPC as well. It can be quite a challenge. It's a long journey. There's lots of things you have to survive emotionally as much as there is about just things at the table.
Right. It's hard no matter what age of people you're dealing with. But as a coach of teenagers or people in their early 20s, emotions can run very, very high. And it can be a stressful situation for all players involved.
And that's regardless of how well or poorly you're doing. Like if you're doing well, there's pressure. If you're doing poorly, there's pressure. And
Absolutely.
a lot of times for some of these youngsters, some of them are experienced and have been through it before, but there's many who it's their first time going through. And they may just not have dealt with quite stressful situations like that before.
Any of these events, I mean, even the trials, let's take, it's such a grind because you have to play day after day after day, and you're playing nothing but really high level bridge. So your mind has to attempt to stay sharp at all times. And it can just be a real killer.
High stakes for sure. And that definitely adds to it.
A few years ago, I played in the World Open Paris back when they were in Orlando. And through happenstance, I ended up making it to the finals with Greg Humphreys. And I know that when I entered that room, not only am I seeing just amazing players everywhere I look, but I personally had just run out of juice. It's too hard to try and stay that focused for that many days in a row. I don't even know how you work up to that. I know that our professional players, which is everybody at these tables, they just go from tournament to tournament and they've learned how to build up that stamina. But I can't imagine how long it would take me before I was even remotely comfortable with the idea of just playing nonstop on.
And for our audience who may not be aware, the pair event that she's referring to, unlike the pair events at our nationals, which are either 2 or 3 days long, this one was more on the akin to 7 days as a common length for this fair game. There's usually 2 days of play before a cut, and then 2 days of play before another cut, and then 3 days of a final. I think the one in Orlando might have only been 6 days, but it was still something very close to that. And just, an enormous number of sessions of bridge for a single event, for a single pair event. I remember I played in one back in Lille back in 1998, I believe it was. And I just missed making the finals, but that was after. So the entire event, I think, was 13 sessions long. So we had played 8. We had just a complete meltdown in one of our sessions and just missed making the finals. This was back when I was playing with Joel Aldrich. These events are just, it's. I work with students myself who, they talk about how they struggle to play 2 days in a row. Imagine having to play this caliber level of bridge for a week at a time.
Right. I have a very memorable encounter from the finals. I was playing Nick Nickel versus and Ralph Katz. And they had a fairly standard auction. But it just wasn't clicking for me. I was too tired. So I started asking Nick questions about the auction. And he started by answering. And then I kept asking more. And eventually he just stopped and stared at me because there wasn't anything else to say. But I just wasn't getting it. And it's because I was exhausted. I had hit the wall and I could not continue. It's really hard.
So getting back a little bit to the bridge, the closed room here is playing in 5 hearts. So this is the hand where the other table found the good save of 4 spades. At this table, North-South didn't enter the auction at all. And East-West got to the 5 level on their own steam looking for slam before they signed off.
Looks like it's another pickup for Millens. They are
Yep.
gaining ground rapidly.
So 4 spades only went down
One.
1 for 100 versus the red game. So.
And this looks like it might be an opportunity for another pickup. Although with hearts breaking badly, even if they get 4 hearts, given that they have a club loser and a diamond loser and some number of heart losers, that's at least 2.
The other table actually played in no trumps.
Right.
I missed the auction. Be interesting to see
Can
how
we
they
see the
managed to do
auction?
that. I think our operator's trying to
It
figure
looks like,
that out.
yep, they just transferred and bid 3-0. They chose to
Okay.
treat their 6 low as a 5-card suit. And with all their honors being outside, I think that's reasonable.
I mean, with hearts 5-0 today, that's,
It's
it
more than
looks brilliant.
reasonable.
It looks brilliant, but unfortunately, 3-0 didn't fetch either.
Yeah, the 2-2 club fit.
Scuttles that. Yep.
Would you transfer to 2 hearts and bid 3-0? Or would you text us?
I'd have to think about it. I think that for me, with so many controls, the hand feels fast, meaning that rather than having like a very quacky hand where there's lots of things that need to be driven, I have top tricks and space. Those tend to play better in suits. Because, you know, like is actually what's happening here in the club suit. You know, you could have just one weak suit and have the whole hand fall apart very quickly because you don't have the secondary strength. So I think I would probably Texas.
Yep, I agree.
I don't hate the idea of transfer 3 now, but it's probably not what I would do. And in fact, here Jenny did choose the Texas route, so they'll get to struggle in 4 hearts. Maybe interesting to see whether DSIP. I thought that she might even consider doubling it with her hand. But she might be concerned that she can't set 4 no trump.
She might be concerned she can't set 4 hearts.
I mean, it's possible, but that feels unlikely. It feels with a high degree of probability that you have 3 heart tricks and an ace.
True.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would, you know, certainly be very happy defending 4 hearts with the south hand.
Well, I would certainly be happy now.
There's a question in the chat asking what the best use of a 2-diamond opening bid is.
I think that this is a topic that there's no universal consensus about. I know a few people in my circle who are very strongly opinionated with very different opinions. I have a partner who feels very strongly that the best use is as a weak 2 in diamonds. I know other people who are big fans of Flannery.
Including Steve Weinstein. I think he is
Steve
that's his
Weinstein.
favorite.
Yep. Bart Bramley is another big Flannery fan. So, you know, multi is one of those conventions that's also very controversial. There are some people who very, very much favor it, and people who very, very much would love to see it banned forever. So I don't know that I personally feel strongly about what it should mean. I think that there are many reasonable options. It really depends a lot on what you want to surround it with. I know I personally have played it as natural, Flannery, multi, both just only weak multi and with strong variants. Something called Ekron, where it's weak with both majors. So precision 2 diamonds.
That's where it shows a short diamond.
Right. That's not necessarily such a great use of the 2 diamond bid. That's more out of necessity than it is out of desire. You know, that's just trying to patch a hole in the system.
There's Mini Roman.
Mini Roman, yep, that's another one I've actually played. Strong Roman, which was the original Roman.
I've personally never played an either or bid, where it's either strong or something else.
So Joe Waldridge and I used to play 2 diamonds was multi, where it was a weak 2 and a major, or it was 22-23 balanced, or it was a strong 4-4-4 one hand.
And how did that work? How did it work for you guys?
We did something that's a little bit atypical for most multiplayers, which we actually played. Most play 2 diamonds pass 2 of either majors, pass or correct. We did not do that. We actually played 2 hearts was pass or correct, but both 2 spades and 2 no trump were different types of asking bids. So 2 spades and 2 no were both relay question type things that had different type of answer schemes. I think overall it worked well for us. But, at the time we were a very practiced partnership. We were playing regularly all the time. And, it was a very complex system that we were playing. It's not something that I would recommend for people who are more casual. If you have a dedicated partner and want to spend a lot of time on system, then you can get into some of the fancier conventions. But truthfully, this is not where I would start with my focus. I would probably say that there's other areas of system that would need attention long before, spending a lot of time on playing some sort of artificial two diamonds. Throwing out a few other things I've seen but not personally played is like the two diamond opener showing the 1.5 no trump, the 18-19 balanced hand. That's another fairly common use of two diamonds.
I haven't seen that employed by many expert players. I think that is.
I've seen it by not the top experts, but sort of like second tier experts. People who would certainly stand out in a crowd, but not necessarily the top players very often.
So on the current hand that we're actually looking at, in the closed or in the open room, they were in 1 no trump by West, going down to. And here, North is declaring 1 no trump. And I think he's going to come up a trick shot.
Not so sure about that. Feels like it may depend a lot on the guesswork of what's going on. If he works out to to block the diamonds, I don't know that they necessarily can do it, but maybe they can. But now they cash the club first. So that was a mistake. So now for sure if he guesses to block the diamonds. Well,
All right, so that is some imps going back to the Millen squad. Not the Millen squad, the Lewis squad.
is it? Didn't Lewis go down at both tables?
Okay, not the Lewis squad. Imps for Millens. I was right to begin with.
So Paul and Linda Lewis, Mark and Disa are very, very frequent teammates of theirs. The other pair, Daniel Corbell and
Janice Seaman Wilson.
yes, I have not seen them playing with this particular group before, but
Or I don't think I've seen them play together.
right. But I don't think I've ever seen either one of them playing with this group before.
I
let alone
know
together.
that Dan has played on some of Linda's teams.
Oh, has he?
Maybe
Okay.
maybe not in trials, but he has definitely played on her teams. And I would suspect Janice has too. So. And as noted, mixed partnerships are a hard thing to find. There aren't many that are established. So throwing two good players together and seeing what happens, it's not the worst idea.
Mark and Disa, though, notably, Mark actually has a few different partners that he plays with fairly often and routinely, and Disa is one of them. They play together at, I personally have seen at many regionals and often playing with the Lewis team at those regionals. So this is another example of an experienced partnership.
I know very little about Jenny and Shan, whether they are practiced or not. It wouldn't surprise me if they are. But Shan most frequently is playing with Kevin Dwyer. That's one of his regular partners.
Who is at the other table and a teammate.
Right. What do you think about the 2-heart bid versus a Michael's bid with North's hand?
So Michael's bid does force to the 3 level, which feels like, perhaps might be a bid bidding. But as against that, you're a passed hand and you're white on red, not vulnerable versus vulnerable. So I personally would probably bid Michael's.
Not to mention it helps make it a little bit harder on East if they are the ones with the big hand.
It's probably not surprising from North's perspective that East and South both have good hands.
Mhm.
I mean, it almost has to be that way for West to have something to pass with.
And given that East didn't open 2 clubs, it means that South has to have at least some stuff.
Right. I mean, East has 20 high cards here, including the Singleton King, which, as a practical matter, is probably pretty close to the limit, meaning that South having an 11 count is sort of towards the bottom end of what you might expect. West could be slightly stronger, so it's not, the absolute rock bottom, but still towards the bottom there.
So at the other table, they got to 4 spades and went down 2. Here they are in the tamer contract of 3 spades.
I wonder if West, the other table, chose to respond in some way, looking at their 4-card support.
Even playing preemptive jump raises, being vulnerable, I would not make a call with that hand.
Understood, but there's another option that a lot of players do as well, which is to start with a forcing no trump and then back into making a preference bid to spades to try and give partner room if they actually have a big hand, but just
The
by
problem
barely
is,
keeping the
I
option.
think much of the time partner does have the big hand, and you don't really want to be game to game with your hand. Yes, you have 4-card support, but you have 12 losers, quite literally.
Yep. And partner has the 20 counts, and of course they're going to force the game opposite any little peep.
One time I was playing against Pepsi that we were watching in the other match. I was playing against him and Sam Lev in a Spingold. This was a number of years ago. And Sam had opened one of a minor, and Pepsi bid 1 spade. And Sam bid 2 hearts, which Pepsi passed. As he put his hand down, he had an ace and nothing else. And Sam, for those that know him, he's is he Israeli? Is that right?
Sounds right.
And he has a kind of a heavy accent. And he leaned down and gruffly said, "Thank you, Pepsi," as he quickly made 5. And Pepsi kind of smiled and shrugged, moved on with life. But you probably, if you choose to respond, I think you're supposed to bid when partner makes a forcing call. At least that was my lesson that I learned. And that was when I needed a lot of lessons.
I can see if you stretch to respond on something like this, a jack or queen, violating the trust of passing partners forcing bid. But it's something I would do extremely sparingly. And I don't know that a hand that contains an ace would qualify for me personally.
Right.
So just it went by so quickly we almost missed it, but the South led a club away from the 8, which allowed dummy 7 to hold the trick and gave Declare a discard on the Queen of Clubs. So somehow they managed to lead their 4 of clubs after the Jack had been 10-9 were all gone. And this let Declare snake home by discarding a diamond. So they actually made 3 spades in the last hand, despite
the
seemingly
gap
having 5
is
losers.
minuscule. So it looks like this will be an exciting match to watch tomorrow.
Right.
We-
The other table started with a margin of single digits and quickly ballooned to 40. This one started with a margin of 40, and now we're down to single digits.
How is the other match doing? We left it a while ago.
51-8. Sounds like it's still not still very one-sided.
It is. So we have switched to the more exciting match. But I will say I always love to watch Andrew's team. Andrew and I were played in the Red Ribbons in 99, I think.
97, I think. Was it Albuquerque?
It was Albuquerque. No, it was
97.
it was San Antonio.
Oh, then I don't know. Might have been 99.
And we won. So that started Andrew on his road to much success. He has now since then won a Soloway, among other things, and gotten to represent the country. So I root hard for Andrew always.
You've had a little bit of success yourself. Perhaps not in the big team events, but as a full-time director, you don't get to play in those. But you know, you have 2 championships yourself in, well, mixed pairs.
It's
So
true.
you are the expert on this.
Something like that. I'm hoping to be able to play on one of these mixed teams. It would be a fun experience and hopefully something where I've always wanted to represent the country. It is definitely a goal of mine.
As a player, you have been an NPC, which is
I
represented
have
in a
been
different
an
way.
NPC.
But the mixed pair game is in the Summer Nationals, and it's opposite. It starts opposite day 2 at the Spingle, so it's an event that I personally have very rarely played it because I'm almost always still involved with the Spingle.
Well, the mixed pairs are in spring.
Oh, spring, sorry, Vanderbilt, sorry, misspoke.
Yes,
The mixed teams are in the summer.
right.
But it is opposite day 2. Everything else I said was right. I just misspoke.
The ACBL is kind enough. They know that I love to play, so they do try and give me opportunities to do so. And this year I will get to play in the mixed band in the summer.
You got to play in that last year, I think, with me. Yes.
With you. Yes.
One of the rare opportunities you and I have actually had to play in some of these events. We play every
It's
once in
true.
a while. We've played in the North American Pairs finals, I know, a couple times. But it's tough. You're just always so busy. You know, you're working. So it makes it hard. We don't get a chance to play as often as, you know, perhaps either one of us might like.
Right.
They say couples, you know, can struggle playing together, but the 2 of us actually enjoy it. I think it's good for both of us.
I definitely agree. As much as I love Greg, and he is one of the funniest people I've ever known, it's still, Tom will always be number 1. And Greg is number 2, not far behind.
I don't think no matter what I do, I can ever entertain you as much at this table as he can.
It's true.
I don't know that you will ever, you know, enjoy it from that aspect as much playing with me or anybody else as you enjoy it playing with Greg.
For those that are interested, Greg recently did a podcast on the setting trick where he tells many funny stories. So I recommend it because he is an amazing entertainer.
Also, quite notably, at the Spring Nationals this year, just last month or 2 months ago at this point, he was the player of the tournament. He won the most master points of anybody at the tournament.
And as they noted on Bridge Winners, he's the only person ever to do that without entering the Vanderbilt. He just
He did it by
extremely well in the pair games.
right. He won a pair game. He came in third. He came in
Fourth or fifth in the
fifth,
I
I
don't
think,
remember.
and then like somewhere in the teens in a fourth pair game. So he had an amazingly consistent week with how he was doing in the pair games.
So we're on our final two boards. What has become a very exciting match.
So in the open room, the north-south side got to 4 hearts and went down a trick.
Here it looks like they're settling for 3 spades, maybe? Yep.
Seems likely. You know, south was a past hand and chose to show their limit raise, and north had opened definitely on the lighter side in the third seat. And on top of that, having spade length, I'm sure they had zero interest in pursuing a 4-heart contract.
Well, it looks like they will lose 2 hearts, a club, and a spade, at least on the face of things. Oh, and a diamond. So this also rates to go down. At least one.
The club lead might have just established a club rough for them as well.
Hmm. So opening leads are one of the really hard things. And deciding which doubleton to lead, I don't know if that's so easy to do. And it's not clear to me that I wouldn't try and lead our suit and possibly try and tap people. Here, Mark has gotten off to a great lead.
Certainly on the layout. I wouldn't want to be leading the king doubleton of diamonds. You know, that there are times when leading king doubleton can be right, but this doesn't feel like one of them. I don't expect that much strength from partner. You know, that it's probably quite likely that much of their limit raise is based on their hard holding. So where their side strength in the minor is very questionable.
Sure.
I don't know
could have
that I
had-
would have. Yeah, they could have had the queen jack of diamonds or something like
Right.
that. But I don't know that I would have let a club for that reason. I probably would have just let hearts, make sure that they don't have a fast discard or something. But Mark certainly has what he's done has worked well. Shan is thinking about refusing the spade finesse and driving it to try and prevent this club rough that he's worried about. But obviously with the spades the way they are, it's not going to really matter. The earlier club return was a suit preference signal to say play hearts. So Mark has done that. He's getting his rough. he knows his trumps are small enough that he can't overruff the dummy for another club ruff, so he's not even going to think about underleading the king of hearts here. He's just going to cash that.
And now if he exits either a spade or a diamond, they will get their sixth trick.
Yeah, he knows that a heart would be a rough stuff almost certainly.
I mean,
There's
even a
no
rough
particular-
stuff wouldn't help them. It doesn't matter what he returns. They have to
Yeah.
lose a diamond.
It is true, but in practice, a trump seems fairly typical.
Right.
So double minus 4M to Lewis. So they extend their lead back into double digits. I guess they were in double digits. So I guess they were at 10 before.
They were at 10. So tomorrow gameplay resumes at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yes, same schedule as today.
Can we see what happened in the other bracket? Then we'll come back to this. I know it looked like there was a large lead.
So just talking about that a little bit. So the format of the way it works is this is a double elimination type of event where there's everybody's vying for US1, and then as you get eliminated, then there's a companion event to fight for USA2. So this is what we're looking at now, is the matches for the USA2.
So
the
one
Cappelletti
match
match
is a blowout.
Yes. So they had a huge third quarter to jump out into the lead, 75-10, and then they added a good chunk more in the fourth as well. So they're up by over 100. The other match, it looks like it's quite close. Certainly in the scale of another 60 boards to go. So here, the Rosenthal-Wachowski match had started pretty close going into the segment, but Rosenthal had jumped out to a huge lead, 51-8. It looks like since then, Wildowski has managed to climb back into it for the segment and close that gap. So they managed to peel off 17 imps unanswered since that point. I don't know if the match is still going or not, but
It probably still is. It looked like they were a
probably
little
still
bit
has a
behind this
couple.
match.
Yeah,
So
I would agree.
once this board's over, we'll hop back to the other match, finish that one out.
So here
Okay,
we're
so
past,
what's going on here?
pass the club, won a trump overcall, penalty double, redouble that forced 2 clubs. So pass 2 clubs. Then they bid 2 diamonds to try and get out there. And now check, check, and a reopening double. And that's where we are. So South overcalled a natural 1-no, and North used a run out system to try to get out in 2 diamonds.
part of the problem with opening the east hand and third chair. I mean, partner's already a passed hand, and you have a pretty cheesy 11 count.
Absolutely. I don't even know that I would particularly feel that comfortable opening a club. One of the things that, this hand, not only is it 11 count, but there's no one good suit, right? You have
Right.
an honor in every suit, and that means that many of them are hanging. So in fairness, the sounder you open in first seat, the lighter you're forced to open in third. So, this may be just something you have to do, but it's not a comfortable position to be in, for sure. Partner doubling and doubling, you just, hope for the best.
Right. You have to be extremely nervous when partner makes a penalty double and you've opened such a weak hand in third chair. And you can't even really run because you have no place to go.
The one saving grace was that it sounded like North was immediately making a run out action. So you
Oh,
can kind of sort of
absolutely.
breathe a sigh of relief and pass and just see what happens from here.
In the end, if North had passed suggesting playing there, you might just shrug your shoulders and pass and hope partner has something because you don't have a place to go, but it looks like you're heading for not a good score.
So in terms of the play, North had gotten a club rough, but that was with the long trumps. So it's not clear how much that may have benefited the defending side. It was okay. And now the diamond shift has made that fairly easy. South may play the fourth club here just to try and rough away the jack and see what happens. But that's going to make it very awkward for North.
Right, North has to rough with the jack of spades
Right.
to preserve any trump trick.
Or discard,
Or
refuse to
discard.
rough.
Right.
But that sort of defeats the point of trying to rough away the jack of clubs. Okay, that was not what they chose to do. Disa chose a heart shift. I guess hoping that partner is the one with the queen.
Right, this solves the heart guess for declare, which makes things easier.
It does, although with the jack of clubs not being roughed away, there wasn't really any guess anymore. Like the only way to leave declare with a heart guess was to leave the club there. Because the jack
So
of
it looks
clubs is
like
just
this
a
is
discard.
this
Yeah.
will lead to down one.
Which is another
Push.
no, the other direction declare, isn't it? Or no,
No?
sorry. No, it was east-west, yeah. They just played in hearts as opposed to spade.
Right. Okay, so we finished the day with Lewis having a smaller lead than they did when we started this final set.
Yeah, Millen's managed to they didn't catch them, but they've certainly narrowed the gap to a pretty comfortable margin going into the next day.
So let's see how the Rosenthal match is going. Well, it looks like they have all caught up. They're both on the final board.
Looks like one table's actually done.
Oh no, that's okay. Yes.
Yes, the other room.
So on this same hand that we were just watching in the closed room, North-South did end up declaring two diamonds, probably on some
similar
type of
similar
run-out
type sequence.
Right.
Yeah, except that in that case, the East-West just decided to defend, which was probably their best action. since,
Many
you know,
people
there's,
play that after a penalty double, you can't defend two of a minor undoubled.
that's true, although it may also depend on being a passed hand versus non-passed hands. May have some influence even on things like that. So the fact that it's a passed hand making the penalty double might allow for them to let two diamonds go.
So here it looks like Michael has 3 clubs, a heart, maybe a diamond. We're not talking, so there's not all that much to say.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, so, sorry, yes, I'm trying to figure out where exactly this is going to go from here. I thought that it was a little bit strange, some of the way the hand was being played out. I found it a little bit odd that West won the King of Hearts and didn't continue Hearts. But having missed the earlier play, I don't know exactly what impression they were under. Obviously, they must have thought that Michael had the queen. So it looks to me a little bit like he managed to bamboozle them to some degree to playing the suits that he wanted. So now I think he's cashing the SR. It's both in part because he doesn't have an entry back to his hand, but also to hopefully
And
reduce
play
the
them.
defensive options,
Yeah.
right? And then make it so that they have to start breaking suits for him. I don't know this will be enough for him to make, but it's certainly going to be close. But he needs to manage to get 2 more tricks in this ending.
Well, with the spade discard, seems
Right. So with the spade discard, it means that the defense can't attack the spade suit profitably. Like had they discarded a diamond, it could have gone something like a spade to the king, a spade back to the ace, and then a third spade through if the defense could read the position.
right.
In this position, what they have to do is cash 2 spades and lead a low diamond away from the ace and put declare to a guess. Had Adam pitched the low diamond, the defense could have actually forced the position. But it still would have, Kitty would have had to read to lead low on the spade first. If she starts the ace of spades, it doesn't work. Here, the best they can do is put declare to a guess.
Yeah, this is not easy.
Well, that's not it. Okay, so one of those going to make. I was actually thinking just before Kitty played the Queen of Diamonds there that one of the things the defense might do is play Ace of Spades and the spade and actually stick in the 10, let Declare win the Queen of Spades, and then he has to break the diamond suit out of his hand. They still have the winning spade, and now they've forced the issue and get 2 diamond tricks. And Declare cannot afford to unblock the Queen of Spades because then the King 10 are just situated over the Jack 9.
Right.
So they actually did have a legitimate double dummy way of setting it in that position. Ace of Spades, spade, ducked. And end play Declare. But the Queen of Diamonds
But
was
a lot
not
of that
the
is
winning card.
Guesswork.
Oh, 100%.
What
I'm
it
talking
is
about
Declare has, right? Seeing a double dummy, we can work out how to do things, but when you're in the hot seat, that sure makes it a whole lot harder. And we already know that Declare has shown up with the ace kick of clubs and the ace of hearts. So now we have to work out where the rest of their values are.
right. And from Michael's perspective, he probably has a pretty good idea of what the layout of the hand is pretty close to the end there. Missing 21 highs and having the auction go pass to one or trump, it's almost certain that the points are split
Right.
10-11. I mean, they almost have to be. Somebody having a 12 count is possible, but these days most people don't pass 12 counts. So even that is, on the relatively unlikely category. So Michael actually had a huge advantage over the defense here in trying to read what was going on.
Well, okay. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope everybody comes out tomorrow.